Here, hold up. It's on, George. You'll get a petal for your courtesy, Daisy, if you don't lose him.
Hello, and welcome back to the 70s London of fast motors, hard villains, and equally hard coppers. We left part 1 following Andrew Paul and his ring of plates down into Ranston Street. Now we head north to Wadham Gardens in the leafy surroundings of Primrose Hill, where one Dr. Delacroix runs a private gynecology practice in the episode Latin Lady. Here, an onion Johnny, once a more common sight in the UK, heads west along Wadham Gardens, where the local milkman is also doing his rounds. And at number 13, Delacroix is leaving for his regular visit to Switzerland, and something tells us he's not hiking boots and lederhosen packed in them suitcases. It still surprises me how many quiet, tree-lined roads there are in London just yards away from the chaos and traffic, in this case the nearby Finchley Road. Guess it's alright if you got the readies, eh? As Delacroix goes to load up his boot, a Triumph Stag pulls to a stop to block the road. A Merc then follows in, and a bunch of friendly chaps leap out and offer to assist Mr. Delacroix with his cases. Yep, even the milkmen were hard in the 70s. Delacroix makes off, one case lighter, east up Wadham Gardens. The Stag pulls away in the other direction. As noted in previous videos, areas like this that were already pretty affluent have tended to change very little over time. It's the working class areas that saw the wrecking balls swing. Here's the view back west up the road today. Not much change beyond the size and cost of the motors. And of course the ubiquitous parking restrictions. Delacroix, not the youngest of chaps and on foot with a case, makes it as far as Opperden's Road, with 2 robbers on foot in pursuit. That's some little distance, no wonder he was knackered. The Merc piles into this car park behind them. The houses opposite the car park have changed very little, as you can see here, and the same goes for the flats on the left. The car park itself now hosts the Primrose Hill workshops. The robbers dump the cases of cash over the car park wall down to where the Stag has reversed up, and then follow suit. As you can see, a very similar view today, including that big tower block in the background. They probably dropped over in the middle of where the workshop roof now stands. That can't have been too easy on the ankles, eh? The Merc attempts to escape. Gotta love that number plate, by the way. But is penned in by the police. Meanwhile, the Stag takes off onto King Henry's Road. A 2-door getaway motor was perhaps not the best choice. The access road is still looking much the same. I think the building directly opposite its entrance looks more recent though. That leaves the Merc driver in the car park with the lead piping. As there was no workshop roof back then, you can see over his shoulders to some 3-storey houses on King Henry's Road. Those houses are the ones you can see on the right here, with the inevitable loft conversions peeking through the bushes. At this point, I'd intended to head to Euston to cover the Hardmen episode scenes as Sergeant Freeth arriving in London. However, when I got there, this was the scene that greeted me, so Davey and his Ock McAndy will have to wait till another time. Instead, I made my way to Camley Street, where the closing scenes of One of Your Own played out. Carter, posing undercover as con Charlie Mason, spends a night in the scrubs with diamond thief Jimmy Fleet, the incomparable Michael Elphick. Jimmy believes his girl Tina and the Stones have been taken by a vicious gang run by Patsy Kearney. Here they race to Kearney's junkyard. We of course know that both the girl and the loot are with John Morris.
What are you looking for?
My mates.
Don't need your mates, come on.
This is a view down Camley Street nowadays, looking towards King's Cross and St Pancras. Of course, it all looks very different now. Junkyards and villains have been replaced by international rail travel and Harry Potter fans. Fleet saves George's bacon in a final punch-up with Kearney's crew, even after his cover is blown. George returns the favour by letting Jimmy walk. Meanwhile, a gang straggler is picked up attempting to flee north up Camley Street. Heading north today, all the old junkyards on our right are now the Camley Street Natural Park. On our left are the expanded rail lines out of St Pancras, and our much-loved 70s corrugated iron is all long gone. This is another location that now looks so different I had to turn to my trusted side-by-side geo-reference maps to be sure I was in the right place. This is the area to the north of King's Cross St Pancras, Camley Street marked here in yellow. Looking into the distance we can see traffic crossing perpendicular to us. The only place this can realistically be is Goods Way, highlighted here. The other major clues to our whereabouts are of course the gas holders dominating the skyline. We can see two side by side behind Goods Way. I've marked those as 1 and 2, with a third being visible by George's left shoulder as the camera pans right, all of which gives us a pretty high level of confidence in our position. We'll head down the Gray's Inn Road now, and earlier in this episode where John Morris is on tenterhooks, apparently waiting for robbers to ambush his motor. He pulls in to ask a bobby what the situation is. Here we're pulling into the curb by the same spot heading towards King's Cross. The buildings right by us here haven't changed all that much that I can see, but I think there's been a gap or two in the road filled in with new buildings further up. Our POV switches to the south as the bobby approaches the car.
You can't park here, sir. Park?
Knowing what we do now, I have to say Morris plays his innocent victim role here very convincingly.
Following? Well, why would they be doing that, sir?
Looking south now, down towards Holborn, again, the buildings nearest us are mostly the same. Though there's at least one obviously newer, shinier building a bit further down on the left. Down round the corner in Theobald's Road is the previous scene of Morris driving away from Hatton Garden, awaiting the alleged ambush.
How do they do this sort of thing? Oh. They usually drive a car in front of you, don't they? And then they all pile out and... what? Well, rob you, I suppose.
I've slowed the episode down here to nearer my walking speed. On the left we're passing the very recognisable entrance to Holborn Library, and most of the other buildings here are the same as they were back then as well.
The only job I had before this, which happened to be over Christmas time.
Finally, we'll skip back to Hatton Garden itself at the start of this episode, where Jimmy Fleet takes the stones from Morris. We get some establishing shots here to let us know we're in the Diamond District. Note the basements on this particular property. We're by the junction with Greville Street here. I pinpointed the location by matching up doorways, and it turns out this one is to the Hatton Garden safe deposit, which was done over to the tune of an estimated 14 million quid in 2015. As we move along, you'll see that there's no basement here, and I think in fact this entire red brick building is a more recent replacement. I didn't linger too long here with a camera, looking suspicious. In reality though, I suspect they get tourists photographing all the time, and only the most inept villain would case the joint by waving a GoPro at it in broad daylight. We can see the basement mentioned earlier as Morris and his associate crossed to the car, so we know it was parked roughly opposite the Hatton Garden safe deposit. That means it was more or less where this black car's parked, so either the building behind it has completely changed or the close-up shots of the car were taken somewhere else. Next up, it's over to Farringdon Station, where in the episode Poppy, Vic Labbit is back in the country, looking to recover 410 grand in stolen foreign currency. Vic wants to broker a deal with a bank's solicitors, give them back the currency on the QT in exchange for a quarter of its value in uncut gems. He meets Stephen Vane, a bent former loss adjuster who's acting as a go-between for Labbit and the bank, at the station. Vic was waiting on this northbound platform to make sure Vane was alone. Behind his shoulder you can see the top of a Grade 2 listed building, 34 Farringdon Lane, which is peeking above the road bridge in the main picture. You get a better look at this former warehouse and showroom, built in 1875, up on the bridge. Labbit and Vane meet up on the tube platform to discuss the deal with the bank.
I forgot how damn cold this country was.
Mr. Labbit?
What's the verdict?
Sterndale agrees.
The station has obviously had some modernisation and redesign over the years. You can no longer see quite so clearly across to the tube line as you could before. Just nearby on Clerkenwell Road, Regan pays a visit to the bank's solicitors.
Sherry,
No, thank you, sir. I'm on duty.
I seem to remember that you were a whiskey drinker.
A little water, no ice, thank you.
The squad has also got wind of Vic's return, and Regan suspects Sterndale knows more than he claims to on that front. The offices were located in Fleet House. With our back to that building, we're looking north here at Clerkenwell Green and St James's Church, and you can clearly see the view from Sterndale's window is the same, albeit grimier. The squad put Sterndale under surveillance from the opposite roof of the old session house. Hello, Tom. The session house is a listed former courthouse built in 1780. Again, I love the authenticity of the fact that they clearly did film from that very roof looking over the Fleet House.
Well, Stephen Vane. He went in to see Sterndale about 3 o'clock. He was in there for half an hour, Gov.
Later on, they watch Vane's comings and goings with Sterndale from street level. This area is obviously a little more shiny these days, but otherwise it's much as it was.
Any problems?
No, not so far.
The longer view of Fleet House here again shows some shinier glass and general sprucing up. Now that they're wise to the plan, the squad tails Vane, knowing that he's about to have a meet-up with Labbit.
Diamonds?
Sterndale bought them from a straight Hatton garden dealer called Rosenthal. I've just come from him.
Here, hold up.
Here's a closer crop view of the front of Fleet House as Vane crosses the road to where his car is parked next to Cornwell House.
It's on, George. You'll get a petal for your courtesy, Daisy, if you don't lose him.
Cornwell House is yet another Grade 2 listed Clerkenwell building, built as a hotel in the 70s. Well, the 1870s. For our final stop, we move up the green a little and the start of Poppy, where Vic first contacts Vane by phone. No mobiles in them days. Believe it or not, the phone box is still there, so I had to film from inside it, obviously. I think I preferred the Crown Tavern as a rough and ready boozer, to be honest. Like many things here, these phone boxes, K2 models first introduced in 1926, are Grade 2 listed. Vic phones Vane from another box just up Clerkenwell Close. If this one was ever a real phone box though, it ain't there now. A low angle here of the box Vane and I were in shows a trough from the Metropolitan Drinking Fountain and Cattle Trough Association. Many of these are listed structures too. After their phone call, Vane drives off and Vic walks away up Clerkenwell Close past St James's Church. Love the signs on the wall here, including the old style Ever Ready Batteries logo. In the medium shop up to where the phone box was, you can see a bunch of new houses have been squeezed in. And check out the state of that road. Has it ever been repaired since Regan's day? Tarmac obviously ain't Grade 2 listed, eh? Finally, Vic wanders off and we shall do likewise. Till next time everyone. But before I do go, here's the rough plot of this part of the trip, and I'd like to say a big thank you for all the subscriptions and feedback so far. Much appreciated.